Hello and welcome to the Small Business Development Center webinar this afternoon. We're going to give it just a few minutes and let our folks get settled in online. Alrighty, thank you for joining us today. We're going to give it just one more minute to let folks settle in online before we get started. All right, thank you for joining us today. This live webinar session is brought to you by the Small Business Development Center. This session is offered today at no cost to our small business clients due to the financial support provided to us by the CARES Act. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Desiree Johnson, the Program Coordinator for the ASU SBDC and Certified Business Advisor. And I'm here to welcome you with a few Zoom tips and introduce you to our fabulous guest speakers today. Before we get started, let's cover those Zoom tips. As this is a Zoom webinar function, your video will be turned off as you enter the session and your audio is automatically muted. Additionally, I recommend you use speaker view. You can find that in the upper right-hand corner. This will allow you to see our speakers and provide the best experience. I also recommend if you are using a laptop, make sure you are plugged into a power source. Please utilize the Q&A box at the bottom center of your screen to ask any questions that you may have throughout the presentation. We will be addressing those at the end. This session will also be recorded to be viewed later on demand. A digital copy of the presentation will be provided to you with the link in the comments section. I will post that here shortly. But without further ado, I'd like to take a second to introduce Andy and Chris from Media Advantage, which is a full-service advertising agency headquartered in San Angelo, Texas. In business for almost 20 years, Media Advantage is trusted by name brand clients nationwide. The staff has expertise in different areas of marketing, which create an extension to their clients' teams and assets. With the right combination of strategy, production, placement, and creativity, Media Advantage helps to guide their clients to achieve great success. Their mission is to develop dynamic, visionary marketing strategies by being curious, exploring new and traditional avenues to discover and develop strategic, targeted marketing opportunities for their clients, emphasizing brand consistency across a variety of media platforms. So Chris and Andy, thank you so much for being with us today, and I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Desiree. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Here's a picture of Chris and I. My name is Andy Marquis. I am the Media Director.
And I'm Chris Forbes, Creative Director at Media Advantage.
And we'll just dive right in and get started. We do want to pause for questions at the end of the presentation. So if you guys have a question on any of the particular topics we cover, just jot those down and we'll have a little bit of time here at the end. So in this session, the basics of a marketing strategy, we're going to go over the elements you need to prepare in order to create an effective marketing campaign. You'll notice that a lot of these elements you may have already created in your business plan. Your marketing plan and your business plan will have some overlap. For those new businesses that are going through the SBDC program and the business plan sessions, you'll definitely have some of these practices already established, so they'll be really easy to duplicate from a marketing standpoint. And then if you do have an established business, of course, it is appropriate to revisit this process every couple of years. You know, business changes, the market changes a little bit. So just to kind of talk about what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about how to create that marketing strategy where you're going to document your goals and create a SWOT analysis. You're going to determine what your value is to your clients and your customers, understanding your clients and customers, and define the business or the buyer persona. We want to analyze your competitors, setting a budget. What do you need for that business presence when it comes to branding? How do you go about selecting marketing elements and creating those campaigns and implementing them? And then what do you do, you know, if something happens in the world where you essentially have to go into crisis marketing mode? And I just wanted to kind of mention, fun fact, you know, you'll hear us referring to customer/client a lot. And something I found interesting is that a customer is a one-time transaction where a client is someone that you do repeat business with. A customer is someone who purchases your services from you, while a client is someone that seeks and uses your professional advice. So just a little bit of information about the kind of differences of a customer and a client for a business. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about how to prepare a marketing SWOT analysis. Now, you know, sometimes developing a marketing campaign can really be overwhelming and feel like you're just taking a shot in the dark, right? You know, we sometimes want to just develop campaigns because this is popular or the new buzzword is the new normal, you know. Using a SWOT analysis can really help you develop those marketing strategies and help you make those educated decisions and develop your more targeted campaigns when implementing your marketing plan. So SWOT, it's the acronym: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Very effective tool to form strategies just in general. You should use a SWOT for every business decision you make, right? And so there are internal factors for your strengths and weaknesses, as well as the external factors that identify your threats and opportunities. So a SWOT in marketing is almost the same thing as a SWOT in business, right? In this case, you do want to do the analysis to form marketing strategies. So essentially where you're going to get the best result for your business. So starting with strengths. Strengths are factors that are going to help you get better results. Base your strategy around these things. Strength is an internal factor, which means you can control it. So resources, investment, skilled labor are all considered strength, right? So when it comes to a marketing plan, some strengths could be brand recognition. For those established businesses, you've got the brand recognition in the market, but a competitor has come in and is making some moves. So you want to play on that brand recognition for your marketing campaign. Maybe the location of your business is on Knickerbocker or on a busy road. And so we really want to play on the strengths there with some outdoor advertising potentially, or an open house. Introducing something new is a huge strength. So if you have new products coming out down the road, or maybe new versions of the same product, would be a strength that you'd want to focus your marketing on. Weaknesses. So what are your internal factors that can derail you from making this progress, right? So is there a lack of an online presence for your business, which could be considered a weakness? Do you have limited resources internally that would cause your marketing presence to be limited? So you really kind of want to take that hard look at yourself and what could be an internal weakness of your marketing plan. And then switching over to our external factors with our opportunities. SWOT analysis in marketing will look at almost everything as an opportunity, right? This is because you never know what events or situations you can use as a marketing weapon. You know, things like advancement in technology, increase in demand, opportunities like it's a Monday or Christmas is coming. You know, those are all marketing opportunities that we can capitalize on and create specific campaigns to reach our audiences. And then lastly, really understanding threats, situations that could hamper your marketing abilities. If you can identify them as soon as possible, then you're going to have that contingency plan in place. Things like, for example, maybe your competitor is offering a lower price. So instead of lowering your price, maybe you're going to push your value more than your price, right? The economic conditions. So a down oil market may force you to pivot your marketing efforts from the oil field to the farming and ranching community. Or unfortunately, a pandemic would essentially cause you to pivot your marketing strategy and evaluate changes that you might need to make for your business image. So defining your value proposition and target audience. Now, just kind of starting with your value proposition, defining this should be very easy. What do you give to your customers or your clients? And why should they choose to buy your product or service? What is your differentiator in the market? Your value is that you sell this product with the best value or this product with the best price, right? And so just kind of really putting that together in a couple of sentences is going to just help you remember this value proposition whenever you're creating your different campaigns, right? And in order to communicate that value proposition, which it could be different depending on your audience, right? So we need to define that audience. Who am I trying to reach to inform about my business, product, or service? What is my buyer persona? And so we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about a buyer persona. So you will need to customize your marketing approach by creating buyer personas. Now, a buyer persona is really just kind of a fictional representation of your ideal customer based on demographic data, could be their online behavior, it could be just your educated guess, could be your speculation on their history, their motivations, their concerns. Here we have an example of an oil and gas engineer buyer persona. And the first step that you do want to take in creating the personas is to brainstorm who they could be, right? So if I am focusing on the oil and gas industry, let's take some educated assumptions right now, right? We know that that's mostly going to be a male-dominated field, and that we have, people starting from the age of 18 and up, right? We can imagine that our younger oil and gas employees are probably not going to make as much money as our older, who have maybe been in the business for a little bit longer and have moved up. So maybe you also market to farmers and ranchers, who are going to have a little bit of a different buyer persona than an oil and gas person. So kind of once you have that full list of just loose, generic buyers, then you want to maybe identify the ones that have those similar needs and consider merging them. But you can have multiple buyer personas depending on the product or service. From there, you want to kind of prioritize that list by considering the impact on the final purchase decision. So what is their relationship to your company? What is the size of this buyer persona group? Maybe we're targeting people that have purchased or a product or service in the past. Maybe we're targeting them differently than a potential new business prospect. So the buyer personas can be very simple or they can be very detailed. Some other categories you might put in a persona could be lifestyle, background, finances, online behavior, brand affinities, and all different kinds of things. And really fun fact, industry fact, is that your media partners can also sometimes help you with this info. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in the next couple of slides. But there are tons of resources online to help you create buyer personas. Really, Google, how do I create a buyer persona? And there's lots of templates, there's lots of resources online that'll kind of help you get started there. Okay, so then we move on to thinking about our competitors, right? I'm sure this is definitely a big part of the business plan and time spent kind of looking at our competitors. Researching them is important to know. It's important to know what they're doing. What kind of threat do they present to the success of your company, right? We always definitely want to play nice with our competitors and never speak ill of them. However, we want to keep an eye on them, right? We want to identify who are our top competitors, what are their products, sales tactics, what results are they getting, what kind of content are they putting out there, how do they market themselves, are they on all the social media platforms, are they writing blogs? If so, what topics are they discussing? By kind of doing this and putting it on paper, you might see some opportunities to outperform. What is their SEO? Did you Google yourself and Google your business and your competitors? Who came out on top? Maybe they're ranking better than you, and that's an area of marketing that you want to focus on, is ranking better than that competitor. Are they getting a lot of social media engagement that you are missing out on? So it's definitely good exercise to keep an eye on those competitors in the market and make sure that your business is standing out above them. Now, we get this question a lot, and setting a marketing budget can sometimes be a little difficult. Marketing is an investment. It's not a cost. And a rule of thumb for spending marketing is about 6 to 12% of gross revenue, with your higher spending in the early phases as you establish your marketing foundation. Now, 6 to 12% is a pretty broad range. So Forbes recommends that you allocate 7 to 8% of revenue, and splitting that between, brand development, which is your websites, your blogs, your sales collateral, and then splitting that with your advertising and special events. You never want to base your marketing budget simply on what's left over after covering your expenses. It's very important, and we'll talk about this as well during our crisis marketing slide, because marketing is an essential part of your business. It's not something that you can cut during a downturn. And the industry standard is that we put 70% of your budget into proven channels that give you kind of the best results, right? So if you're an established business and you do have, that TV works, then we might put 70% in what we know works. Then we'll put 20% in some other things that really just create more brand recognition. So things like outdoor advertising and radio are sometimes a little bit trickier to measure. And so that potentially could be a 20% part of your budget. And then that last 10%, we want to reserve to really explore new channels and test. And there is so much coming out with marketing right now that we want to try it, but we also don't want to waste our marketing dollars. So that can be a tricky part of the process. And so we always want to just reserve a little bit of that budget to try some new things. So after you've done all that work and you've got your value proposition, your buyer persona, your budget set, the fun part is really going to be selecting your marketing elements, creating your campaign strategy, and then implementing it. But before we talk about those things, we really want to talk about establishing your business presence, because your marketing dollars are going to be wasted. If you create your marketing plan and your campaign strategy and you're ready to go, but you have no business presence, then all of the efforts you've done, the people that have been driven to your website or to your business, are going to have that bad first impression. So I'm going to pass it over to Chris to talk about branding.
Yeah, so just like Andy said, this is the fun part. This is where you get to be yourself and show off who you are and what your business is about. But she's totally right. You've got to have some of this stuff set up and ready to go before we start marketing and putting out ads and spending money when you don't have something developed for them to go back to, a website. So let's go to, this one. So, first thought on branding is a logo. And your logo, gosh, I know my notes are there. Your logo can be, it really should be something that is recognizable. People can read it and understand what your business is about. But it can not only just be the logo, it could be, your tagline or part of your apparel, what the business wears. If you think about even Chick-fil-A is a perfect example. You pull through there and they always say, when you leave, it's my pleasure. And that's just kind of part of their business branding. And so that kind of all goes in together as one. Thank you. And then, it's important to establish your logo usage once you figure that out. A lot of people will send someone a logo and they'll implement it onto some type of advertising, and it turns out to not be the best representation of you, or it just doesn't look how you would want it to look. And so it's important to really make sure you're capturing all of your files. Like when you first get that logo done by a designer, you yourself keep all of that stuff. You've got to have a vector so you can blow it up on a billboard. You've got to have it in a PDF to put it on a t-shirt. You just want to have all of those at your fingertips to be able to hand off to someone that that will represent your brand perfectly. So right here's an example, that we have for Media Advantage and our logo. We've gone a step further and created a style guide. And so your style guide kind of, it brings in some fonts and how and where we use those fonts. It has a color palette. So our logo specifically is mainly black and white, but we do like to bring in some color sometimes. And so we want to be very specific on what colors we're using. Black, there's actually 20 different blacks, so, or purples or blues. So all that is very specific to us, and we've got PMS colors, and this is easily, I can send someone this file and they'll know exactly what it's supposed to look like and be and do. Okay, so, a website, a professional website will drive sales. 70% of consumers agree that they're more likely to buy from a business that has a website rather than one that doesn't. So there's several different ways to do it, and there's different levels of development and maintenance on your website. So of course you can do it yourself. There's Wix, there's GoDaddy, Squarespace, Google. Those are, you can manipulate them and do it on your own time, put it out there on the web, the whole 9 yards. You could pay a designer, have someone design it for you, and then you could work the back end of it after that's done. Or you could even have someone do the whole 9 yards. They can do the maintenance part of it. They can make changes as you go. Anything that's wrong, they can fix it. And that's just kind of like a monthly setup that you would do with your web designer. Google builds websites for free. Now that might depend what the final result would be on your budget. So you always kind of have to figure that out for yourself. But you can go on to GoDaddy and find a web address, see if there's something available, see if it matches your business name, or can you come up with something that goes along with your business. That can definitely be tricky, but it's something you can purchase and buy, and then you own it. And then even if you can't find like exactly your business name, you could redirect pages to your landing page, to your home page. I think a lot of realtors might do this too, findahome.com, and it goes right to their web page, and it's maybe a temporary verbiage, to use. So that's definitely possibilities all the way through. It's important to have content on your web page. On that landing page, it's important to list key items, and your web designer is really going to be able to hone in on your type of business and what they're doing and what it needs to be. So, another important thing to note on having your web page and designed is you can link it back to your email. You can have chris@mediaadvantage.net. It goes back to my website rather than chris@yahoo.com. It just gives you that more professional element to your business. So Google, I mean, everybody Googles. That's the first thing they do when they're trying to research something or look at something. So you really want to claim your Google business profile. You can manage how it appears on Google once you do that on your map. And then once you get into that back end of it, there'll be a list right here. You can see the home, post, info. Go in there and update each one of those to your specifics. And then creating that Google Analytics account is so amazing the results that you get, and you get to go in there and see how many people are clicking on your stuff and have that report to see if you need to make any changes or add to it, or if you do change something, go see if that worked, give it a week.
Well, and just to interject for a minute, that Google Analytics, if I've been in business for a year and I've had my analytics on my website, that can also help me hone in some of my demographic data, right,
True.
Chris?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, and it's free. You don't even have to pay anyone for that. You just have to go through the steps and get that done. So, I mean, speaking of that, anything online, any online resources is worth sitting there and going through them. There's so much out there for free, and it's just the basics. So.
So then, of course, continuing on with just what I need for a business presence, right? So we've talked about a logo, a brand, a website, Google, and then social media. So social media there are many social media platforms. Not all platforms are going to be the best for your business. And so it's really important to maybe look into some social media statistics to figure out what platforms your business needs to be on. It really depends on your business type, your target audience. And then you can start using social media to improve your business presence. It improves your voice, your image, your marketing exposure. If somebody Googles plumbers near me, websites are going to come up, Facebook's going to come up. Any kind of additional platforms you are set up on is just going to help improve your standing. So I've got some fun statistics here. 72% of American adults use social media. 73% of American adults use YouTube, making it the most popular social media platform. Did you guys know that? Did you know that YouTube is a social media platform and that is the #1 used? So if I don't have a YouTube channel, maybe I just have my commercial on there, or maybe, things like Chris and Andy on a marketing session might be on our YouTube channel. So if you're able to produce video content, which video is king right now, then we definitely want to get that up on a YouTube channel, because a lot of people are consuming that social media platform. And some other fun statistics. So again, like whenever you are making your decisions on what platforms to be on, Twitter, for example, is 18 to 24 years old. So if my audience needs to make an income of over 100K per year to afford my product, then I'm probably not going to have a Twitter account. Or I could have a Twitter account, but maybe not spend as much time as I would on my Facebook account, because Facebook, 75% of adults in the US who use Facebook make over $75,000 a year. Hello, that's a major audience. So we all know that businesses should definitely have a Facebook presence, and whether or not you add on those layers of Instagram, Twitter, if you have more transactional products, Pinterest and Etsy are really great sources of marketing platforms if you are making that creative product. So just some things to think about whenever you're choosing your social media platforms for your business presence.
Well, and once you get that done and you're out there on the web, there's got to be some reputation management. So this is This is like monitoring, influencing, growing, managing what's being said about your business online, or even a person that works for you, your employees. There's research that says 88% of people read reviews before making a decision to purchase. That's major. You want to be able to tackle anything that comes your way pretty quickly on social media. So you build customer trust by responding to these reviews and not just leaving them. Even if it's a good review, you want to respond and say thanks. So according to consumer, businesses that respond to reviews are 1.7 times more trustworthy than businesses who don't. So thinking about Yelp, Google, Facebook, they're all the most common reviewed platforms. It can take some time to build up this reputation too, to get that 5 stars and maintain it. So it's a good idea to ask some of your happy clients for reviews, to jump on your website or jump on Google and give you a review. A lot of times people only review when they're mad or they're upset. So it's good to have that balance. There's software tools out there that can help monitor this. You can hire someone to do it, or do it yourself.
Okay, so kind of switching back over to our planning session. We kind of move into the phase of, now we've got our brand presence, we have our target audience, really what kind of marketing elements do I buy? What do I do now? The most important thing that we want to reiterate and leave with everybody today is the first one is brand consistency, which I don't know that we mentioned that on the brand page, but Chris is huge on brand consistency. We want your brand to look the same on all types of marketing. Maybe there's fun differences. It doesn't have to be exact the same, but it does need to complement each other.
Yep.
And then the second thing is having a marketing mix. Do not put your eggs in one basket. Don't put your entire budget on one piece of marketing. It's really important to have that mix so that people are thinking about you, they're touching you in the community, they're hearing you on the radio, they're seeing you on TV or on YouTube or on outdoor advertising. And so, there's definitely things that you can do to market yourself that are free. And then there's things that take a monetary investment. I'll let Chris kind of high level talk about grassroots marketing.
Sure, grassroots. I mean, that top of the list, community outreach, that's a big one. It's volunteering for somebody. Jump on the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce. All of these people are, there's nonprofits in town. If you're on a board for them, go out and help the Boys and Girls Club of San Angelo, and they actually will post about you. That's some free marketing that's helping your community full circle. And it's easy to do, and it's fun, and just gives a guaranteed great reflection of your business and who you are. Simple thank you notes and cards after someone's, maybe you first sold something to them or seen them before. It goes a really long way. Of course, an open house is great. That just welcomes people into your business, and you have a chance to show up and talk and use your words to promote yourself. Ribbon cutting is offered through the chamber. Be a chamber member. Support the community. That they really give a lot back to you, and so we love doing that for customers and clients.
Well, and it's okay to toot your own horn a little bit, right? I mean, if you are volunteering at a charitable organization through your business, it's okay to tell people that, because you want people to understand you are giving back to the community as a business, and that does really translate into additional business in the future for you. Now, talking a little bit about traditional media, we call in our world, traditional media is, of course, just that, the traditional ways that you can reach people. We say outdoor as in billboards, your signage of your business. Anything we say that your name is on is marketing, right? So radio, believe it or not, radio is still a dominant form of advertising. I know people have some mixed opinions about that, but it's a very cost-effective way to get branding out there. TV, You know, people are watching a lot more TV these days with the changes in our work situations. And so cable TV is king right now. Connected TV, where people are watching the smart TVs, you can get ads on that are unskippable. So we've got a couple of sessions coming up that are going to focus really on the details of traditional media and then also on digital media. Digital, we call it the age of digital disruption. Everything has gone digital now, and the things that we can do with digital will blow your mind. Yes, your phone is listening to you. Yes, Alexa is listening to you and sending you ads, and we can buy that for you. So, you know, it is very interesting with digital. You can really define that target audience, and you know your marketing dollars are going direct to them. There's, you know, with data mining and your IP address is being tracked, all your habits, you know, what you watch, what you do online. And so we can send advertisements to you based on those habits and know that we're reaching that audience that would actually be interested in that product. So yes, in tandem with marketing elements, you know, as you're deciding what you want to select, you are going to also need to think about the type of campaign that you're going to run and what's going to be a good fit on that platform.
Yeah, you want to think about your audience and cater to them. If it's a younger demographic, then that's what we need to focus on. Maybe it's Instagram,
TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. Snapchat. You know, there's all those platforms there that we can hone in on and advertise.
Yeah, your different campaigns. Well, and just to give an example, we just signed on a new plumbing client, and this client, not only do they do residential plumbing, which is my first assumption, and of course when I go in there and I learn everything about their business, they do commercial waste disposal, they rent porta-johns, they do new construction. And so we are not going to market to these different areas of their business the same way, right? We might spend more money marketing to our porta-john sales because our return on investment is higher for that than maybe essentially waste disposal. We might market special events for a porta-john rental as opposed to a direct mailer for a residential plumbing. If we are, you know, trying to reach businesses, we might send something to the Chamber of Commerce mailing list, but we're not going to have our messaging for a direct consumer client. It's going to be messaging towards the business. So it's really important to think about that during your SWOT analysis, your buyer persona, and the different divisions of your business, product or services might be a fit to separate out and to market them differently and not to market them all together. That's very common we see of ineffective marketing campaigns because there's just too much you're trying to tell because you've got all these services. Well, let's tell them about a couple of services and then do another piece of creative that talks about the other services. And so you're not giving overload to your target audience.
Yeah, all of that's okay and not frown.
Yeah,
like happy.
Yeah, too bad. we want people not to hate advertising.
Yes, well, yes, totally. Yeah, and then again, you know, set goals for your campaign that are specific. I mean, measure. Let's see if this is working. If we're reaching our target audience. You know, hopefully we're doing attainable, realistic things that give us results in a time-bound measurement. So,
I mean, the results aren't guaranteed, right? So sometimes you got to make a pivot. So if you're not paying attention, then you could miss the opportunity to pivot. It's never really the best idea. I'll deviate a little bit. Don't sign an annual contract. You know, we always recommend 3 to 6 months, just because if you do want to make a change, if things have gone stagnant, you don't want to be stuck in that long-term contract. So what do we do now? Like, we've got kind of gone through this process, you know, then you need to implement the plan. So you want to start booking your meetings, right? We'll talk about this on the next slide a little bit more about booking meetings with reps and with agencies and how do you talk to them? What do you ask for, right? then you want to kind of determine the tactics that you're going to move forward with. Create that timeline for launch. Work with the graphic designers, right? And
yeah, you know, that graphic designer is going to make sure that your brand is consistent with all of these different media needs. You know, everybody will need a little bit something different, and so that's what I would recommend for sure, is to have your graphic designer in charge of your logo and your brand. Your media partners can help with all of that stuff too. You know, develop that relationship with them. I think it's important. You know, you're going to meet with several of them, not just one. You're going to go through and meet with lots of them.
And you'll
so
have
make
approval.
Friends. Yeah, you'll have approval, and just make sure that your brand is being delivered the way that you want it to be done. And so
they want to check and make sure. So like if they bought the newspaper, pick up a copy of the newspaper, look at your ad.
Yeah, make sure it was printed nicely. If not, make a phone call, that's okay. You know, and you'll get invoices in, and you want to make sure that it's right. I mean, that's a big part of our job. When a radio ad runs or a TV commercial, they'll actually send us in the invoice what time it ran during the day and how many times it ran and where on what station did it run and those things. And so we always know who needs to run where and what do we sign up for, and we want to audit that and make
we
sure.
Always find a mistake too, right?
Lots of mistakes.
Always.
And you can call them up and they'll, you know, make it right one way or another. So that helps you, monitor results and see what your key performance indicators are, ultimately growing your business.
All right, so that's a little overwhelming, right? I mean, I'm a marketing expert, but speaking on behalf of some of our business owners, you're not marketing experts. So what do you do now? You know, as Chris mentioned, well, you know, first off, let's start off by saying this. This is your business and your passion. You are going to be the best person to be involved in marketing, whether you're just collaborating with marketing professionals or whether you're doing it yourself. You started this business because of your love for this product or service or your skill set. And so you are going to be the most passionate about that. And you are going to be the one that's going to help people create or yourself create and deliver the best results for marketing. And as Chris mentioned, you know, be an informed buyer. Always meet with more than one media rep per advertising element. So if you're looking at TV, meet with at least 2 different TV providers. Don't meet with just one and go with the first thing you see. Now, these people, you can ask them to provide you ratings. You can ask them to provide you, we call a media kit, which essentially is their demographic information, right? So if I'm buying radio, there's a totally different audience on a country station than there is a rock and roll station. And so when we ask for that demographic data, then we can compare that to our buyer persona and know what's going to be the best fit for our campaign, and we can make educated decisions on our own, right? Most media is going to help you with that creative, as Chris mentioned before. You tell them your guidelines, you supply them the logos and your brand sheet, then they will be able to take your suggestions and turn that into reality, and then you can of course approve or make edits to it. Another thing you can do is of course hire an in-house marketing expert or a marketing team. And always remember that you want to spread your budget for a marketing mix.
So if you're going to outsource those tasks, you can definitely explore hiring an agency like us, like Media Advantage. You know, an agency helps the business, works with the business plan, the purchasing, the advertising. We've got, you know, almost everyone in your area, even outside of San Angelo, that has offerings that we can look at and kind of analyze for you, or, you know, another agency. So the business actually does pay for those services. We can even just be used as a marketing department. We don't even have to always just place those buys for you. We can help you with developing the other side of it as well. And so we can find those ways to enhance all of your efforts.
And so we want to finish our discussion today and talk a little bit about crisis marketing. You know, unfortunately, in our career, we had to deal this year with crisis marketing that we have never had to deal with before. And so you really have to be sensitive to what is happening in the news, and you have to act quick. A marketing campaign adjustment needs to happen in the face of a crisis that we experienced in March and April. So it's not appropriate to have jokes of advertising and just a hippity-hoppity mood whenever something of this nature's happened. And I think I can remember a similar situation was around 9/11. And so, you know, that might cause for a pause, and let's evaluate what we're doing for our marketing. And maybe we need to pivot into, you know, we're here to support our community. Our business is closed, but everybody's in our thoughts and prayers, or something of that nature. You know, it might be necessary to communicate new business practices, models, and ways that you are supporting those efforts. It's never good to stop your marketing completely. We will be transparent and say that those businesses with our agency that continued to market, and maybe there were smaller ways, are doing better than those that just stopped their marketing altogether. Now, every situation is different, and as an agency, we are supporting our clients and completely understand the need for a potential pause. But, you know, being just aware of what's happening in the news when it comes to your marketing is essential, so that you are still connected to your audience, and that you're sympathetic to what they might be experiencing. All right, so coming up, this was kind of our first session, just really high level basics of marketing. If you guys want to dive a little bit deeper into traditional media, which we call the backbone of advertising, join us Thursday, September 10th. We're going to talk about what the different traditional media avenues are. There's some listed there on your screen, and what's going to work best for you and your business. How do you get the creative, and how do you know which traditional campaign is going to have the best reach? And then our last session in October is going to be a big one. This is something we get all the time, is digital marketing. What is digital marketing? How do we determine the best fit for our business? How do we use it? There's so many companies that offer digital today. So really understanding just the baseline of what a digital thing is will really help you when you're starting to have those meetings. Digital is so important to your marketing strategy. And so you need to understand, what does the terminology mean? What is an impression? What is a CTR? How am I purchasing this? So that you can audit your spending and make sure that you're getting what you've purchased. So with that, we thank everybody for your time, and definitely have a little bit of time left. I think, Desiree, if we can take questions, or we might have to wrap it up, and happy to answer questions if you'd like to email us.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. I think that was a great session. Very informative. We'll give it a few minutes to see if anybody has any questions that pop up in the Q&A bar. But I have found one that I really like to ask following our webinars, because we are in a very stressful time for a lot of our small businesses, and for a lot of them that are on the practical side of running their business day in and day out. If you could, what is one takeaway that you would say, if you can't implement all of the things that we talked about, or reach out to a media partner today, what would be one action step that you would suggest moving forward out of today's session?
That's a good one.
That is a good question. We might each have a different.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, I love the community aspect of things. I think if you were going to do one thing, investing a little bit into that, a lot of it is free, and it's, you know, you meet so many people out in the community. When you go to Business at Happy Hour, when you go to you know, Leadership San Angelo, and get involved in some of these things that our great city offers. We're so lucky to have all the things that the chamber really does, and there's so much need for volunteerism. You know, that just, to me, sprinkles all the way through, and it comes full circle right back to you. That would be something that.
Oh, that's a good one, man. Mine's not as good as that, but definitely networking is a free kind of takeaway in marketing yourself. And I mean, I would say really, if you can't only do one thing, then you know, making sure that you have a great website with updated information, and keeping an eye on that Google. Google likes to change things on you, so just keeping an eye on how you're coming up online when people search for your business, I think is also an important, just one thing that you could do to make sure that you can be found by people that want your product or service.
Very good. I think that's both pieces are very excellent advice. Thank you for that. We did have a question come in that says, do you recommend changing your primary marketing audience to target customers / clients that are more likely to operate during the pandemic?
Yes, we do. Knowing your market temperature and adjusting your campaign to that is going to be the most effective way to do it. Unfortunately, you know, it's not capitalizing off of what's going on now, but to your point, if your business offers a product or service that maybe had to pivot due to closures, or there's a different model, then you definitely need to communicate that to people that are out and about and kind of operating as normal.
Well, some platforms won't let you make money off of it. We've had
Yeah.
to change some ads on YouTube because it even
Yeah.
mentioned the pandemic, COVID-19.
Yeah.
And they just don't really want people to just make money off of it. That's not the point. You know, we were trying to get across a hiring campaign. And so it totally wasn't anything to do with that. It was about safety, but that's what people want to hear right now. They want to know, okay, I can get a job and it's still safe. And so it's just tricky.
You want to be super careful too, because like many of you and me, experiencing a little bit of fatigue on a lot of this marketing terminology that we're hearing all the time. Stay safe, you know, just the new normal of business practice. And you know, unfortunately, those things are going to be part of our narrative moving forward, but we also want to be careful in how much we're using that in our marketing efforts. People still want to support your business or your cause or your service, and not necessarily because there's a pandemic right now. I hope that answers your question.
Very good, very good. Anything else? Any other specific questions that we have for Andy and Chris today? Awesome. Well, I'll give it just a second to see if anything else comes in. But with that, I would like to just give my closing remarks. I would like to thank everyone for taking part in today's session. Thank you again so much, Chris Forbes and Andy Marquis with Media Advantage. They've been great support of the SBDC and our clients throughout the COVID situation. The ASU SBDC was able to host this webinar today at no cost because of the additional financial support provided by the CARES Act. And we know this is a very hard time for our businesses community, and the SBDC business advisors are dedicated to providing our clients with relevant, accurate, and useful information in a timely manner. So please keep an eye out for our upcoming sessions. As I mentioned in the beginning, this class is recorded, so if you missed any bits or pieces, or if you would like to work through an action plan, you can go back on our website and view the on-demand recording, as well as access the digital copy of the slide deck, which is linked up there for you in the chat. You can, somebody asked about how to register for our webinars. So just to update you on that, you can register for all of our upcoming webinars at sbdc.angelo.edu, or you can visit our website for past recordings of the previously hosted sessions as well. So I'll drop that in the chat. So just sbdc.angelo.edu. We kindly ask that all of our attendees complete a short survey that will automatically populate at the end of this meeting in your web browser. This just lets us know how we did and how we can improve in the future and what additional information will be supporting your businesses during the COVID pandemic. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you soon. As always, have a great day. Thank you, Andy and Chris.
Thanks.